Every U.S. state has a nickname. The nickname is often derived from a symbol that represents the state, something important in its history, or highlighting a well-known tourist attraction. A lot of these states have many nicknames. In this video, we will just be going over each state's officially designated nickname, or if it doesn't have one, the one it's most commonly known by. We'll be starting in the Northeast, then working our way down south and throughout the rest of the country, starting with Maine. Maine's official nickname is the Pine Tree State. The pine tree is a good representation of the state, as around 90% of Maine is covered in forest, with most of them being pine trees. The eastern white pine is also the state tree in Maine, and appears on Maine's state flag and seal. While today, granite is mostly found in states like Texas and Indiana, New Hampshire's state nickname remains the Granite State. Granite is commonly found throughout New Hampshire, and the industry has been important to the state for many years. Throughout the state's history, it has been home to many granite quarries. The larger ones still exist today. Many things in New Hampshire today are made with granite, including street curbs and even the New Hampshire State House. The Green Mountains are a mountain range that's in Vermont. In the 1600s, French explorer Samuel de Champlain gave the name Verd-Mont to the mountains by writing it on his map to mark the area. Verd and Mont are French words that can be translated to mean Green Mountain in English. This is where Vermont not only gets its name, but also its nickname, the Green Mountain State. Massachusetts is known as the Bay State. This may be a reference to the many bays within the state, as well as the area of Massachusetts which was first settled, which was in the Cape Cod Bay. The first settlement there was known as the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and was chartered by the Massachusetts Bay Company. The Ocean State became the official nickname of Rhode Island in 1972. Although it's not actually an island, the state has over 400 miles of coastline, and everyone living there is no more than an hour away from the ocean. Historian John Fiske made the claim that the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, adopted in January 1639 in the Connecticut colony, was the first example of a constitution anywhere. There are many who dispute this claim. However, it's for this reason why the official nickname of Connecticut is the Constitution State. The official nickname for New York is the Empire State. There are multiple theories as for how it got the name. However, its exact origins are unknown. One theory is that it comes from a letter written in 1785 by George Washington, calling New York, at present, the seat of the empire. Other theories suggest that the nickname has been used since the 1800s in reference to the state's wealth, or New York passing Virginia in population. New Jersey is known as the Garden State. For anyone who has ever driven through New Jersey, garden is probably not the word you'd use to describe it. According to NewJersey.gov, the term Garden State was first applied to New Jersey by State Attorney General Abraham Browning. In a speech given in 1876, Browning compared the state to an open barrel, with New York taking from one end and Pennsylvania taking from the other. Although some dispute this, Garden State was added to New Jersey license plates in 1954 after the state legislature passed a bill. The bill was vetoed by then-Governor Robert B. Minor, who said, quote, "New Jersey is noted for its great strides in manufacturing, mining, commerce, construction, power, transportation, shipping, merchandising, fishing, and recreation, as well as in agriculture. I do not believe that the average citizen of New Jersey regards his state as more peculiarly identifiable with gardening for farming than any of its other industries or occupations." End quote. The veto was overwritten, and it has been known as the Garden State ever since. Pennsylvania is the Keystone State. A keystone is the middle stone at the top of an arch which keeps the whole structure together. Because of the important role Pennsylvania played during the founding of the country, it is known as the Keystone State. It is said that in 1802, during a victory rally for Thomas Jefferson, Pennsylvania was referred to as the Keystone of the Federal Union. On December 7, 1787, Delaware became the first of the 13 colonies to ratify the Constitution. Because of this, the first state became its official nickname in 2002. The origins of Maryland's nickname can be traced back to the Revolutionary War. The Old Line State is a reference to the group of soldiers from Maryland that fought in the war, known as the Maryland Line. George Washington is said to have used the term Old Line when referring to them. Old Dominion is one of Virginia's most well-known nicknames. The nickname is a reference to Virginia being the first British colony in the Americas. During the British Empire, the term Dominion was used to describe self-governing colonies under British rule. The state is also home to Jamestown, which was the first English settlement in North America. West Virginia is the only state entirely within the Appalachian Mountains. This is one of the reasons why it has the nickname the Mountain State. Kentucky is known as the Bluegrass State. Bluegrass is commonly found throughout the state. Kentucky bluegrass is native to Europe, Asia, and North Africa, and can now be found in lawns all across America. Bluegrass is also a style of music that developed in the southern Appalachian mountain regions based on English, Irish, and Scottish traditions. North Carolina's nickname is the Tar Heel State. Tar Heel started as a derogatory term used for poor, working-class people from North Carolina, as the state's biggest industry for a long time was tar manufacturing for naval vessels. During the Civil War, North Carolinians began to take pride in being called Tar Heels. One of the most well-known stories is that troops from Virginia retreated as North Carolina troops stayed and won the battle. Afterwards, the Virginia troops got into an argument with the North Carolinians, where one of the soldiers from North Carolina said that maybe the Virginians would have fought better if they had stuck tar to their heels. After hearing this, it is also rumored that General Robert E. Lee said, "God bless the Tar Heel boys." North Carolina has started to take pride in the name ever since. The Palmetto State is the official nickname of South Carolina. The palmetto tree is also the official state tree, which appears on the state flag. Palmettos have been associated with South Carolina since the Revolutionary War, where soldiers in a fort made from wood from palmetto trees defeated a British fleet on Sullivan's Island. Beginning with the War of 1812, volunteers from Tennessee played a major role in important battles. Again, during the Mexican-American War, the U.S. military requested around 2,000 soldiers from Tennessee. Instead, 30,000 people volunteered. These reasons are why Tennessee became known as the Volunteer State. One of the nicknames Georgia is best known as is the Peach State. On April 7, 1995, peaches became the official state fruit of Georgia. Georgia started becoming known for its peaches after the Civil War, when more farmers started to grow them as an alternative to cotton. Despite the peach being an important icon of the state, today Georgia is only the third largest peach exporter in the U.S., behind California and South Carolina. In 1970, Florida state legislature voted to make the state's official nickname be the Sunshine State. Despite its nickname, many western states, such as Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada, receive more sunshine than Florida does. However, Florida is one of the most popular vacation destinations in the United States, known for its many beaches and year-round good weather. Because of this, tourism is Florida's biggest industry. It is estimated around 122 million people visited Florida in 2021. The state of Alabama doesn't have an official nickname, although there are a few it is known by. One of the most common nicknames is the Yellowhammer State. The northern flicker, also known as the yellowhammer, is the official state bird and has been since 1927. During the Civil War, some soldiers from Alabama wore yellow cloth on part of their uniforms. As a result, Yellowhammer eventually became a nickname for all Confederate soldiers from Alabama. Mississippi is the Magnolia State. The magnolia is the official state flower and tree and has long been associated with Mississippi, appearing on the original state flag from 1861 until around 1894, and now appears on the new state flag, which has been used since January 2021. There are a lot of pelicans found along Louisiana's shoreline. The brown pelican is even the state bird. These are some reasons why it is known as the Pelican State. The pelican has been a Catholic symbol for a long time. It was believed that during times where there weren't any food, a pelican would use its beak to cut its chest open and feed their offspring with its blood. Because of this, to some Christians, a mother pelican would represent Jesus and the chicks would represent Christians. However, this is a myth. Mother pelicans don't actually do that, but it has been depicted on the Louisiana state flag and seal for over 100 years. Texas is known as the Lone Star State in reference to its state flag, which only has one star on it. The flag was adopted in 1839, shortly after Texas won its independence from Mexico, and was used as the national flag for the Republic of Texas until it joined the United States. The most well-known nickname for Oklahoma is the Sooner State. The term Sooner dates back to the late 1800s, specifically during the land rush of 1889. Around noon on April 22, 1889, public domain land in Oklahoma became open for settlement. Many people came to claim cheap land. Those who were early were called Sooners. Oklahoma didn't officially become a state until 1907, and in 1908, the University of Oklahoma started calling its football team Sooners. Formerly known as the Land of Opportunity, since 1995, Arkansas has been calling itself the Natural State in order to promote its many places for outdoor recreation. Arkansas is home to many state parks, as well as 7 national park sites, such as Hot Springs National Park and Crater of Diamonds State Park. Missouri's nickname is the Show Me State. There are many explanations as for how it became known as that, one being it comes from a line used in a speech from 1899 by Missouri Congressman Willard Duncan Van Diver, who said, quote, "I come from a state that raises corn and cotton, and cockleburs and Democrats, and frothy echolands neither convinces nor satisfies me. I am from Missouri. You have got to show me." End quote. Another possible explanation is that one time free railroad passes were given to people with the Missouri legislature, and the conductor on the train insisted everybody show him their passes. There is another theory that says miners from Missouri were sent to Colorado to replace workers who had gone on strike. Not being familiar with the mining practices in Colorado, the miners from Missouri had to be constantly shown how to do things. Another story is that during the Spanish-American War, soldiers from St. Louis who guarded the gate at the army camps required everybody to show them their pass before being able to leave and go into town. Illinois has long been known as the Prairie State. According to Illinois.gov, in 1820 there was about 22 million acres of prairie land throughout the state. However, by the start of the 20th century, most of it was converted to farmland. Today, only about 2,000 acres of prairie remain. The slogan, Land of Lincoln, is what appears primarily on Illinois license plates, and has since 1955. While Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky, he lived in Illinois for a lot of his life, and started his political career in the state. Like other states, the exact origins of Indiana's nickname, the Hoosier State, are unknown, as there are many possible explanations. One explanation is that in the early 19th century, a man named Samuel Hoosier was assigned to work on canals on the Ohio River. He reportedly only hired people from Indiana. Because of this, those who worked under him were called Hoosier's men, and eventually shortened to just Hoosiers. Another popular theory is that settlers in Indiana would yell out, "Who's here?" when hearing a knock on their door, and that eventually led to it being shortened to Hoosier. There is also one theory that says a Native American word for corn was Hoosa, and men from Indiana who transported the corn by that boat became known as Hoosa men. However, there has been no native language found where Hoosa was a word. Regardless of how it started, people from Indiana have been known as Hoosiers now for well over a century. Ohio is called the Buckeye State. The Ohio Buckeye is the official state tree and has been a symbol of Ohio for a long time. A story from 1788 says that when a man named Colonel Ebenezer Sproat came to the first settlements in Ohio, he was called Hetuck, meaning Buckeye, by the Native Americans there. Over time, Buckeye began to be applied to anyone from Ohio. Also, in 1840, William Henry Harrison was elected president. Harrison, being from Ohio, made the Buckeye a symbol of his campaign, and supporters of his would use wood from Buckeye trees to make souvenirs, such as walking sticks and necklaces. A common nickname for Michigan has been the Wolverine State. Although Wolverines don't live in Michigan, and most likely never did, this name probably originates from an 1835 border dispute between Ohio and Michigan, known as the Toledo War. During the conflict, people from Ohio reportedly compared the people from Michigan to Wolverines. Another possible explanation is the Native Americans began referring to Americans moving into Michigan as Wolverines because Wolverines at the time had a reputation for being greedy. A nickname for Wisconsin is the Badger State. The badger had been the state's official animal since 1957, but has been a symbol of Wisconsin much longer than that. In the state's early history, lead mining was a big industry, and many people came from all over to Wisconsin to mine. A lot of miners did not build houses, and instead lived in their mines or in dens dug into the ground. As badgers are also known to dig, the miners began being called badgers, and the name has been around ever since. Wisconsin is also known as America's dairyland. The dairy industry has played an important part in Wisconsin's history and economy throughout the years, and the state continues to produce the most cheese annually in the United States. David Rohr and James Edwards are credited with helping Iowa become known as the Hawkeye State. Both men were looking to find a nickname for Iowa before people from other states decided on one, so they wouldn't end up like states like Illinois, whose inhabitants were called suckers in some areas. The name Hawkeye could have become popular in Iowa because of the book The Last of the Mohicans, which had a character named Hawkeye in it. In the 1830s, Edwards named his newspaper the Burlington Hawkeye, as a tribute to his friend Chief Black Hawk, who had become a popular figure in Iowa. A series of letters were published throughout Iowa newspapers called A Wolverine Among the Hawkeyes, written anonymously by David Rohr, from the perspective of a Michigan traveler traveling through Iowa, referring to the people who lived there as Hawkeyes. Over time, Hawkeye caught on as a word for people from Iowa and eventually became the state's nickname. One of Minnesota's nicknames is the North Star State. This comes from the state motto, L'étoile du Nord, which is French but translates to Star of the North in English. Minnesota is also known as the land of 10,000 lakes, even though the state actually has around 11,842 lakes. Since 1957, North Dakota has been known as the Peace Garden State. The International Peace Garden is on the U.S.-Canada border, with part being in North Dakota and the other part in Manitoba, Canada. The official nickname for South Dakota is the Mount Rushmore State. This is because Mount Rushmore is in South Dakota. In 1945, Nebraska's official nickname became the Cornhusker State, replacing its old official nickname, the Tree Planters State. The University of Nebraska has been calling its sports teams the Cornhuskers since 1900, and the name became popular in the state. A corn husk is the green leaves covering the corn, and husking refers to the method of removing them. Currently, Nebraska is the third largest corn producer in the U.S., behind Iowa and Illinois. The most common nickname for Kansas is the Sunflower State. State Senator George Morehouse supposedly saw Kansans wearing sunflowers to identify each other at an out-of-state event. This led him to write legislation to officially make the sunflower the state flower of Kansas, which it became in 1903. Sunflowers have been grown in Kansas for thousands of years. Today, North and South Dakota are the leading producers of sunflowers in the U.S. However, the sunflower retains cultural significance in Kansas, with many seeing it as a symbol of Kansas's history. The Treasure State is one of the nicknames Montana is known as. In the 1800s, large amounts of gold, silver, copper, sapphires, and other minerals were found and mined in the state, leading to the state motto being oro y plata, Spanish for gold and silver, and eventually the nickname. Montana is also commonly known as Big Sky Country, which originates from a 1962 ad campaign by the State Highway Department and was eventually added to license plates. In 1869, Wyoming became the first U.S. territory or state to officially grant women the right to vote, which has led to it being nicknamed the Equality State. The country's first female governor, as well as the first female jurors, are just some examples of the other firsts that happened in Wyoming. Colorado is known as the Centennial State because it became a state in 1876, 100 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. In 1999, New Mexico's official nickname became the Land of Enchantment. However, it had already unofficially been known as that for a long time. The phrase was used first to describe New Mexico in a book about the Southwest from 1906 and used to promote tourism in the state in the 1930s. It was eventually added to license plates in 1941. Idaho's nickname is the Gem State. Around 72 different types of gems can be found in all parts of the state. Idaho is home to a lot of rare gems as well. For example, the official state gem, the star garnet, is only found in 2 places in the world, Idaho and India. Utah is the Beehive State. The beehive was a symbol in the Mormon Church which signified unity and cooperation. When the Mormon settlers arrived in Utah, their president Brigham Young chose to call it Deseret, which meant honeybee, with the beehive being a symbol of how they needed to work together in order to be able to live in the Salt Lake Valley. When the territory became a state, Congress decided to name it Utah after the Native Americans that lived there. Even today, though, the beehive remains a symbol of Utah, with there even being a beehive statue at the state capitol. Arizona's nickname is the Grand Canyon State. This is most likely because the Grand Canyon is in Arizona. One of Nevada's nicknames is the Silver State. This is in reference to the silver mining industry, which helped shape Nevada's early history. In the 1850s, silver was first discovered in Nevada, which led to people from all over coming to try and mine it, similar to the gold rush. Today, there are a lot of ghost towns throughout the state, left over from the days of the silver rush. Nevada was also one of 2 states to join the Union during the Civil War, which resulted in its other nickname, the Battle-Born State. In 1968, California's official nickname became the Golden State, although the name has been used to refer to California since at least 1856. This is because in 1848, gold was discovered, which led to hundreds of thousands of people coming to California hoping to get rich. From 1849 to 1860, the state's population nearly tripled, with around $2 billion worth of gold being discovered there. Oregon is called the Beaver State. The reason is because in the state's early history, the fur trade was a very important part of its economy, with beaver fur being one of the most profitable exports. Washington was first called the Evergreen State in 1889 by Seattle realtor C.T. Conover. Conover, inspired by the evergreen forest he had seen in Washington, titled a pamphlet, Washington, the Evergreen State and Seattle, its metropolis. Over time, the nickname became popular throughout the state. However, to this day, it has never been officially adopted as the official state nickname. Alaska was called the last frontier because of its large open spaces and unexplored wilderness. Being far away from the other 48 continental states, it was one of the last places in the country to be explored. Hawaii was the last state to be admitted to the Union. Its nickname, the Aloha State, comes from the Hawaiian word aloha, which is often used as a greeting or as a way to say goodbye. Yo guys, the Freindlyneighborhoodpig here, coming at you with another video. More videos have been coming out recently. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Make sure you don't miss another upload. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.